I want to share with you today some things that I've learned about horses, about children, and about connecting with compassion in a disconnected world. I'm going to start with the word compassion. That's a word that has so much meaning bound up in it, rather than just empathy or concern, which kind of start the process. Compassion implies action. It's a dynamic word. It's a word that is filled with emotion and action at the same time. But my concern is that concern is not enough. We have on one side concern about the things that are maybe not working in our lives, and we can be concerned about things but not really do anything about them. And I think that characterizes a lot of our culture today. We have politicians that are, we're very concerned. Not going to do anything about it, but we're concerned. On the other hand, compassion demands action. It compels us to engage with other human beings. And so that's what I want to talk about. And more importantly, compassion ultimately will define you and will define me. Everyone in this room, including myself, will die. Some of us sooner, some of us later, but we will all die. And we will be remembered or not remembered as living a life of compassion or one that lacks in compassion. And there is a drought of compassion in our culture today. Why is that? Well, for some of us, it's a world of paradox. We live in a world of paradox. And I'll give you one example. According to the data, in the last 15 years, extreme human poverty has been halved and is expected to trend lower. On this graph, it's showing that in the last 15 years, we've cut poverty in half. That's globally. Now, if I asked you to raise your hands, how many of you knew that we're also lowering infant mortality rates, hunger, worldwide homelessness? All of those things are dramatically dropping. But if I asked you to raise your hand, how many people knew that? They asked that question, and only 6% of Americans actually think that the world is getting better. By all measures that they can think of to come up with and survey and do research on, that's happening. The world is getting better. But there's a disconnect, isn't there? Americans, they love, we started out loving social media. We hate it now. But we can't give it up. We can't give up the interaction, the instant gratification, the dopamine that we get from seeing that little red tab. So we got to see what our notifications are. We just can't seem to give that up. That's a paradox. One of my favorite bloggers, Seth Godin, he wrote Linchpin and some other just amazing books on the way that we think and the way that our culture behaves. He said, these are, in my estimation, the 5 main drivers of our culture. And it's kind of sad. He said the world has become like Disney World. You know, you go to Disney World with your family and you're going on all the rides and you have to make it, but it's not as fun as you think it is because you've got to make decisions. Okay, I'm going to get on that ride and I got to wait 2 hours in that line. Okay, what am I going to miss over here? I could ride 5 of these for one of those, and okay, I'm getting loaded up. This is too much. Well, he was talking about cognitive load, but he said the main driver is fear. Fear in our society is number 1. Cognitive load is number 2. We've got too much to do, too many options, too many choices, too many things to do and choose between, and that's making us freak out. The third one is greed. And greed is often fueled by fear, isn't it? Gosh, I don't know what the economy is going to do. I don't know if I should give for this. I don't know if I can support this thing anymore that I'm doing. what will happen? But another driver is curiosity. Man, I want to try the next big thing. I think that's really cool. Alexa, man, that's really neat. I want to try that. I want to check out, that technology. And the last one, and last and least, is generosity and connection driving us. And I want to drive that generosity and connection higher. I would like to see a world filled with that. Another thing that's a disconnect is we're being brought closer to the indignities and suffering of our world through social media, yet at the same time, Gallup in February polled American adults, and they found this topic to be the highest, fastest rising topic amongst their people that they surveyed as being a non-economic concern. I'm concerned about people having a lack of respect for one another. So that's just yet another endemic part of the paradoxical society that we find ourselves in. But I've got good news. Solving it should be very easy. If you grew up in the 80s, well, we can just do a 60-second montage, right? Right? We need to become an Olympic skier, 60-second montage. Need to become a top chef, 60-second montage. Or maybe if you were born in the 90s, as we're getting even faster, you can do like in The Matrix, and you can jack into the back of your neck, download 20 years of Kung Fu, right? Shouldn't be a problem. Should be easy. Well, today, I think we're having our compassion delivered in by Amazon drone, so that's even easier. We didn't even have to order it. But we chuckle because it's not that easy, is it? And I think there's a misperception too, is that we're led to believe these memes like this that say it costs nothing to be respectful, nice, grateful, kind, supportive, positive. But I would say maybe that's not so true. In fact, I say the exact opposite of that is true, because I learned a secret, and that secret is compassion is expensive. Compassion, true compassion, is fabulously expensive. And that's the reason that we hoard it. It's that greed and fear that it's a limited supply. I have a limited supply of compassion. I can't give any more. There's too many demands in my life, my family, my job, my 2 jobs, my kids in school, my church, sports, all the other diversions we have. And it makes us be inhibited, doesn't it? Compassion is expensive, whether it's spending time to help someone with something that we can't get something right back out of it. It's hard to give of ourselves and not expect something back. We have these inhibitors. Well, one of the ways that my wife and I chose to invest our compassion was to start working at a local youth ranch. And it's called Dare to Dream. And what we do is we pair kids from 4 to 18 years of age with horses that have been rescued, previously abused or neglected, or maybe donated to the ranch. It's a mix, and we have all kinds of horses. And we did that to get involved and to be able to show the ways that our family can show compassion to kids that are less fortunate than us, because we have kids from underprivileged areas of Fort Wayne come. We have littles come with their big brothers, big sisters. We have YMCA kids come, and they get a real ranch experience. And our one thing that ties our whole mission together is daring to dream. And daring to dream is somewhat like getting past those inhibitors and instilling in children the ability to stop to start dreaming and to start taking action. And one of the things that they do is before they can ride, the kids, they sweep stalls, they shovel manure, they stuff hay bags. All the stuff you think they would be averse to work, but they dive right in. It's really amazing to see. And they do things like pick up rocks in the arena, they groom horses, and they make really good friends with horses. And there's a growing body of scientific research that shows that when you put a kid with a horse together, that horses have a special way that they can relate to children in ways that kids, or the ways that we can't understand. And we believe that there should be no unwanted horses and no throwaway kids. And we operate on the simple premise that if you can be kind to an animal, which we teach the kids to do, to respect nature, respect horses, to clean your room. If you can clean a stall, well, maybe you can clean your room. And if you can be kind to an animal, well, gosh, you can be kind to yourself. If you can learn how a horse eats and needs the proper nutrition and proper dental care and proper care of their feet and their body, well, maybe that will translate to you and you'll care about what you eat and what you put in your body and how you take care of your own health. And if you can take care of yourself, guess what? You can be a gift to the world. You can be kind to the world. You, as a fully formed adult, autonomous, independent, taken care of, you can be a gift to the world, and you can give yourself to others. And that is what compassion is all about. We have had a couple of stories. One was of a girl who was autistic, who her grandfather had taken her to the ranch to ride and to see if there was any kind of response we could get out of her. And she was severely autistic. She stared off into space. And as our volunteers lovingly and caringly put the girl on the horse, we asked the man that was with her, who brought her, and it turned out it was her grandfather. And her grandfather said, we asked her what the story was, and she said, she's been with me for 5 years, since her mother abandoned her when she was 2. So I've had her, and so we started asking about her condition, and asked, is she verbal? Does she respond? Not too much. He's very, very cynical about it. Well, anyways, we put her on a horse and start walking her around the arena. We had sidewalkers on either side, and lo and behold, she starts laughing. She starts giggling and laughing as our volunteers were having her put her hands on the horse, the tactile, the touching, the feeling of the coat of fur, the rhythmic movements of the horse walking, which science has shown that there's some connection there that goes on, that's older and more profound than we can ever imagine or discover. So this was going on. And it was just, we were all in tears, we were all a mess. We've had other families there. Another boy who came was not so nearly impaired, but he was deathly afraid of horses. And he was sobbing and crying, and he was reluctantly doing everything that we were doing with him, and wanted to just get out of it any way he could. But his mom was there, and she said, "You get on that horse. You are going to ride that horse." And through the tears, we got his leg over the horse, got him started off, and the horse didn't take 2 steps, and he was like, "Mom, I got this." It was just an amazing thing. And when he said, "Hey, when I come back, can I ride the biggest horse?" So making breakthroughs like that little breakthroughs one at a time we see as a way to engage children with compassion, show them how to care for themselves and to be a gift to the world. Last story is this girl named Logan. Her mother had brought her to the ranch. She had contracted viral encephalitis when she was 2.5 years old. She was paralyzed on her left-hand side, and if you're familiar with this condition, you can recover from it, but in the meantime, she had a brain injury that had left her with an ataxia of her fingers and fine motor control issues. And her mother thought that she would be well served by coming to the ranch and learning to be around horses and maybe get some of that motor control from the horses. And so she came and did that. She became a volunteer, not only just taking part in the ranch, but she became a volunteer. And through that, it was amazing because something happened I didn't expect. She was a closed individual, an introverted individual. You know, when you have something like a left hand that doesn't want to do, that won't do what you want it to do, you're kind of self-conscious. But she grew out of that, and in fact, she grew to be in color guard at her school, and they went to state. Then she went on and she said, I want to be a welder. I want to be a structural welder. And it was just amazing how she just blossomed and came into this being this whole different person that was just amazing, an amazing thing. And then in a couple of weeks, she's going to be getting married to the man of her dreams. And I know this because she's my daughter. And so I put back upon you that compassion does take time. It takes focus. It takes a lot of energy. It takes money. It takes resources. And it takes effort. But wow, is it ever worth it? And not just because of my daughter, because of all the stories that we've had that have come about because we invested ourselves in compassion. Some of those were forces that were put on us because of Logan's health, but the things that I learned along the way, I hope that you can choose to invest yourself in compassion, because compassion is priceless.